Hey everyone, I'm Steve Brown with It's My Railroad, and sometimes I get sidetracked. Hey, welcome to Sidetracked. This is the place we keep the stuff that doesn't exactly fit in with one of our project builds, but we want to share with you anyway. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. Today I'd like to talk just a little bit about the direction of modeling on our layouts. Normally we'll model something, right? You're going to model an industry, you're going to model a freight line, a division, a town, something that we see and then we make a model of, and we enjoy doing that. My problem came when I was building the Brownsmith Railroad, realizing that I had very tight space constraints that I had to work within. It was only 12 inches deep, and I had a few industries I wanted to get done. And there was a way I had to route the trains to get the maximum enjoyment. Now, the problem with that is sometimes I don't think we can exactly match a prototype and still have functionality on our layout. As an example, my grain elevator back here. I wanted a grain elevator, but I wanted the train to travel in front of it to get to the other side of the port. Coming in from the back just wasn't going to work. And so I had to figure out a way then, a story in my head for how that's going to happen. The freight cars come in on the front and the grain transfers over them and down into the barges. I'm like, I'll just do that. And I thought actually I was being creative and coming up with that idea. But I went online and I saw pictures of basically any configuration of grain transport or a grain terminal that you want to use. There's cars in front, goes over the top, boom. So it turns out, wow, I was limiting myself for no reason. I had another situation over in Brownsville where the spur for the creamery sits basically right across the street from Merchant Row. And I was trying to figure out how I could justify a road and all of this going on there. Because I mean, who would have a railroad right down the middle of Main Street? And then I went online and I found that that apparently happens quite often, where even a modern diesel is chugging right down Main Street in some town somewhere. So that's possible. Even with my sawmill, I had to move because we eliminated it over where the logging camp is, moving it over to Brownsville. Well, I don't have room for a log pond, so how can I have a sawmill without a log pond? And suddenly I went online and I realized there are sawmills without log ponds out there. So I'm unnecessarily constraining myself to what can and can't be done and putting some kind of a guilt trip on myself. So what I did is I came up with this philosophy. And basically what I'll do is I'll build a model and then understand that somewhere out there in the real world, they made a prototype like my model. And here's why. I have space constraints. I have to move loads. I have to make it work with the surroundings, with what's there. And that's what they have to do with real railroads, with prototypes. They have to get a load from here to here. If they have to make a special car, a special apparatus, a special siding, move things a different way, they'll do it because they have to get the job done based on their constraints that they're working under. So that's kind of liberating for me, to tell you the truth. And one of the reasons it's liberating is, well, depending on when you're joining us, we're right now in the middle of remodeling the logging camp on the Brownsmith Railroad. And in the logging camp, I have a very tight space constraint. It's narrow with a sharp mountain in the back of it. Some kind of way, I have to put a realistic log loader in front of that. And so again, I found myself concerned with realism and prototype and things like that. So I went online, I'm poking around and I'm looking, and I found these pictures of log loading ramps. And you can see as we file through these, they're all different. Some of them have bigger logs, smaller logs, some have steam donkeys, some have like a ramp, some have a flat spot, some are more like a flat loading dock. They're all different. And that's when this philosophy kicked in. That I'll tell you what, I'm going to build my log loading ramp knowing that even if I haven't seen it, somewhere out there, it really exists. And here's why that's liberating. I want to be kind of realistic. I kind of want to be prototypical on my railroad. I mean, I mix different eras and stuff here and there just because I like the look of it. But I find myself being concerned about wandering too far away from prototype. And again, it's like if you build it, they will come. I mean, if I can imagine it, somewhere out there, the prototype exists that supports the model that I'm building. So now I can pretty much run my rails anywhere I want to. I can put industries in any configuration I want to, any size I want to, knowing that some kind of way, somewhere, that's going to match something. And again, it's not like I've got Martians teleporting freight here and there. I mean, that might be a little too extreme for my layout, but I have the freedom to build whatever I want, whatever works for me, knowing that I haven't deviated too far from the prototype. With the log loading ramp, here's the cool thing, is now I'm able to cast off all restraint. Anything I build will match a prototype somewhere. It doesn't matter. So I've selected the version that I've selected and started working on it. I got some retaining walls set up where I think I need them. I have a method with how the logs get loaded on that ramp, and I haven't necessarily seen this exact configuration anywhere, but it doesn't matter because it's my railroad and I can build a model that somewhere will match a prototype. So I don't know, this is just something I wanted to share with you guys. I mean, I'm sure, you know, most of you probably already know this, but a big part of what we do here at It's My Railroad and Sidetrack is just kind of free us up on our railroads to just build stuff that we dig, stuff that looks cool and is fun to operate, and that when, you know, people come over who aren't rivet counters, look at your railroad and go, wow, that's kind of neat. What does that do? Why is that there? And you tell them the story and just get, you know, hours and hours and hours of real enjoyment from this hobby. So, you know, anyway, why don't you tell me what you think about it in the comments? I mean, is there a compromise you've had to make on your layout and then realize later on it wasn't a compromise at all? Because it really happens that way sometimes. Let me know in the comments, will you? And again, this is the kind of stuff we do on Sidetracked and on It's My Railroad. So if you haven't subscribed, why don't you do that? And then make sure you like and share the video with somebody. Hook up with us on Facebook. But until next time, my name is Steve Brown. Rail on, my friends.